Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Langer at the Mic post-game show. Or when I say not post-game show, Stanley. Okay, no, that was just, oh man, that's the heat getting to my brain right there. It's a Stanley Cup Final preview. The Montreal Canadiens, they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup, and if you've been following my reactions here on Langer at the Mic live, you know how pumped up I am. And you also will find out how pumped up Sheldon Wiseberg and Paolo De Sousa or Max Pacioretty and Stanley Tucci are today, because we are going to we're going to talk about we're going to preview the Stanley Cup Final between the Montreal Canadiens and Tampa Bay Lightning starting tomorrow night with Game 1. But before we get into that, gentlemen, how are you doing on this fine Sunday evening?
Sheldon? Oh, I'll go. I'm doing great, actually. It's been a pretty exciting couple of weeks, and especially week. Habs beat the odds again, come out on top over the Golden Knights, and keep it short and sweet. Yeah, that's about all I got to say about that.
It's kind of like I'm living in a very, very believable dream, especially when I look outside and I go, you know what? It's not spring, it's summer, but I don't know, maybe this is how people felt in 1993 as well, that the fresh air, that spring in your step, that our boys are in the Stanley Cup Final.
Well, I also think the biggest difference between now and 1993 is that in 1993, they didn't have to wait over 25 years to feel this feeling, because they've been feeling it in 1986 and 1979, 78, 77, 76, 70, like so on and so forth. So, so honestly, guys, look, we all know with the Montreal Canadiens beating the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Winnipeg Jets, and the Vegas Golden Knights but by the way, back-to-back series winners in overtime against the Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights with goals from Tyler Toffoli and Arturi Lehkonen. But from a fan standpoint, we'll look back a little bit more at the hockey standpoint. But first, I want to go through the fan experience and talk about what kind of emotions did you guys go through in the last 5 days since Thursday, or 4 days, whatever it's been since Thursday, since the Canadiens, since Shea Weber scored that goal, and it became more and more real, the first goal, and then obviously Arturi Lehkonen scoring the game winner. But take me through your emotions that you went through since Thursday all the way up until now, where you found out the Canadiens were being the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in your life.
Take it away, Sheldon.
I think it's a little bit of a blur because so much has happened since Game 6. I think it was just, I took it the same way as I did with every single Canadiens game that clinched a series. Okay, celebrate the win very briefly, live in the moment a bit. However, there's another game to play. You got to focus on that. But this is on a whole new level that none of us three had ever experienced. An entire generation of people have not experienced it. But the way to control one's emotions, as Carey Price likes to, is to just, okay, focus on the very next game. Doesn't matter the stakes.
Yeah, I feel like they're the first team to get there again. So, they kind of weren't, finishing off Vegas and thinking, oh, we're waiting for, Tampa Bay, we're waiting for the Islanders. You got to wait for that game to be played. So I guess maybe for them it was a little odd, but as a fan, it's been great. I've been pretty quiet. I mean, I'm not really the type to, flaunt and ha, 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 ha. I kind of let the numbers do the talking and let my boys do the work, which they have been. So, again, like Sheldon said, enjoy the moment, enjoy it, celebrate it. Don't, milk it kind of thing, and get ready for the next one. Because, beating Toronto is great. Beating Winnipeg is awesome. Vegas is a huge accomplishment. But like all the players are saying, there's 4 wins left and a huge series left in order to make the statement that they think they're working towards.
I still feel like there's something to be said. Like, just like Sheldon said at the top, it feels like we're living in a realistic dream right now. Arturi Lehkonen scoring that goal to send the Montreal Canadiens to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in 28 years is just, it's stuff like you play on Xbox and that happens, it's not something that you'd expect to deal with to have experienced in real life, I feel like ever since the Kakaniemi goal in overtime against the Leafs, it's like we're just playing like we're on a ride here. You know, we're on a ride that we never expected to be on. And it's just with each playoff series, sweeping the Winnipeg Jets, beating the Vegas Golden Knights, the top seeded team in these that was remaining in these playoffs, who just beat the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche. And the Canadiens just in 3 out of those 6 games just made Vegas look like they don't belong on the same ice as them. And I mean, yeah, it was weird because 2 of those games were cases where Vegas should have won but lost, and the Habs should have won but lost, and vice versa. But again, to me, it's just since Thursday, dealing with my work schedule, like training clients and managing that. So early mornings, late nights of watching these games, and also the fire alarm going off in my building. As I said on my Langer at the Mike postgame show, not once, not twice, but 3 freaking times in the middle of the night before game 6 and before I trained a client early in the morning. It's like the only thing that got me through like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was just adrenaline and emotion. And thankfully I caught up a little bit this morning, but yeah, it's just been a wild, wild ride. And it's just, I'm looking forward to it continuing for the next week and a half in the Stanley Cup Final right here and right now. But what does it mean to you guys? Like, if you could talk about what it means to you for, again, I keep saying it and I won't get tired of saying it, for the Canadiens to be in the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in our lives. What does it mean to you, Sheldon and Paolo? Sorry, with Sheldon.
This was something that I had dreamed about ever since I became a Canadiens fan and a hockey fan in 2007. Where that was the year Kovalev had 84 points and the Canadiens finished first place in the conference. And I thought, yeah, I'm hearing it from my Leafs fan buddies in grade 7, but you know, it shows I made the right choice. With cheering for an NHL team where my parents were born and raised, and my father told me about the legends of the Richard brothers and Geoffrion, how they won so many Stanley Cups, and I wanted to root for a winning team. And then with each passing year, there's some ups and downs, but we still held out hope that for sure within our lifetimes, the Canadiens will win another Stanley Cup. It kept getting longer and longer. We had the hopes in 2010, didn't work out. Darn Flyers. 2014. Darn New York Rangers. Yeah, darn Chris Kreider. But the rides have been great, but just we need that one extra step. And then in a COVID season of all things, the team just gels together right at the end of the season or heading into the playoffs, or even right before Game 5 against the Leafs, and we go, oh, the stakes are high. First time that the forever rivals had played since disco was still considered a good thing, and then they win. Great. These great things keep happening, and even though it's an underdog team, they actually relish the challenge of going uphill against supposedly superior opponents. And I think that's what a lot of Canadiens teams have had over the past 12 years, where their best runs are up against favorite teams, where they prefer being underdogs. And it's that beautiful underdog story where Toronto kid rooting for the Montreal Canadiens, and you got to go against the majority here in Leafs Nation, and it's been a wild ride. I want to see this happen.
Sorry, just before you get to you, Paulo, I was going to say in terms of the underdog story, because there's some truth to that if you think of it, because 2007-08, that year that you were talking about back there, Sheldon, where it's like the Habs were expected to go all the way because they're the best team in the Eastern Conference and they're playing against the inferior Boston Bruins, but had to beat them in 7 games and then lost in 5 against the Philadelphia Flyers. But then a couple of years later, 2010, they weren't expected to be anything, went all the way to the conference finals. Then 2013, they were once again number 2 in the East, lost in 5 games to the Senators. Following year, though, middle of the pack, when they were underdogs to the Lightning, swept them. Underdogs to the Bruins, beat them in 7. Favored against the Rangers, lost in the conference finals. Although a lot of that to do with Chris Kreider, but that's another story. Then 2015, same thing. One of the best teams in the East, beat the Sens, but had to take them to 6 games. Couldn't close them out until game 6. And then lost to the Lightning, almost got swept by the Lightning, who ended up going to the Stanley Cup Final. And 2017, same thing. One of the best teams in the East. They had to fire Michel Therrien, Braden Claude Julien, of course, halfway through. But yeah, just team where they were in the position where they were favored to win. They could not get the job done. But here they are again in 2021, being the worst, like the worst team, like the 18th place team in the Eastern Conference, to the bitterness of Leaf fans, which we don't care about right now, because we all know that to make it to the Stanley Cup Final, you have to earn it. And the Canadiens have certainly earned it all the way to the Stanley Cup Final this year. And it's just, Paolo, what does it mean to you before I share, I guess, my little experience?
I guess also for the Leafs, you got to win at least 4 games to even get to the Stanley Cup Finals. 3 is great, but you got to close out the series. And unfortunately, they couldn't. But what does this mean to me? It's pretty surreal. I mean, especially with my hockey, I've been around, moving around a lot. I've met a lot of guys from different parts of the United States, different parts of Canada, different teams, different passions. And I'm sure we can all admit, like, I've taken a lot of heat for even sticking by my Habs, being a Habs fan, or, when they say, Montreal's prospects are coming up, blah, blah, blah. And people say, yeah, Montreal says that all the time, like the draft picks and all this stuff. And obviously, we have some key veterans on the roster that are leading the way, by, as you can see, that on and off the ice. But, the young guys that we've been patient from, and are finally, working their way up, finally finding their groove, getting the confidence they need between last year's playoffs and this year's playoffs. But again, it's, as a player, you see the emotion, you see how close knit they are, how tight they're getting game by game, shift by shift. I'm actually just got the goosebumps trying to process what I'm about to say. And to see Carey Price's reaction at the end of that series, and to see him finally have a reaction. Sorry, let me take that back. To finally have a reaction that's better than just like, a head nod or like, thanks Webbs, a little tap. He showed emotion that, again, gives me the goosebumps as we speak. A man that deserves it, and a team that is proving that, underdogs against Toronto should have got swept. Underdogs against Winnipeg. I love this story. Underdogs, obviously, and should have even been on the ice, quote unquote, by a lot of people, versus Vegas. And, showed them, battled and basically gave them not only a series, but took it to them for the most part in most games. So it's special. It's unique. We've all been waiting for this since, we were born. And then, you got my parents' generation where they've been waiting since 93. So it's a clash of 2 different generations. And, to hear my dad's experiences of, this Stanley Cup and, in 86 and then 93, I was here. And it's like, all right, well, you know what? It's my turn now, and I think we're turning the corner there. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks here.
Yeah, and even those 93 and 86 teams were underdogs, going back to kind of what Sheldon said. Like, they were not supposed to win the Stanley Cup those years. Like, the Habs have not won a Stanley Cup as like a favored team back when they had all those Hall of Famers back in the 70s and all those dynasties there. So yeah, just that's all the more reason why it's just to me, like, Paolo, you've been like, I know, Sheldon, I think you said grade 6, grade 7, you started becoming a Habs fan, right?
Grade 7, yeah.
Yeah, Sheldon, have you been a Habs fan since you're like 6 years old?
No,
like
I didn't get into hockey until I was 12.
Or yeah, sorry. So Apollo, were you like a Habs fan until you're like 6 or 7 years old, right?
Yeah, I mean, my first jersey was a Saku Koivu jersey, and I still got that too. So that's where I was pretty young. Yeah, once I started hockey, I won't lie, I think my first year or so, I was a Calgary fan. I was a big fan of the Flame. I love the horse, their retro, their third jersey. Beautiful
they
jerseys.
have that's the best reverse retro in the NHL.
Yeah, so nice. And then I realized, I couldn't stay up past 10 at that age to watch most of their games. And I was like, you know what, like, great jersey and all. I'm gonna respect the jerseys, but I was like, I'm gonna put it towards my team, my hometown, and stick with them.
And also, just so you know, coming from Randy, who again, you're apparently Max Pacioretty on this channel here, so you have to shave your playoff beard after your loss to the Habs, Mr. Max Pacioretty, aka Paolo De Sousa.
It's funny you say that. Actually, the last time I was on the show, I had like the untamed, weird, like rough looking beard, and we got off that call, and there was the week gap between Montreal series against Winnipeg and Vegas. I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but I ruined my own superstition and shaved. Actually, I got fed up. I had to do some calls that I felt like I wasn't looking presentable, so I kind of got rid of it. I was, you know what, I'm going to break that because I know my boys are still going to pull through against Vegas, and I'm glad it didn't backfire. And whatever I got going now, I'm going to go. But I can promise you, I'm in much better mood than Max Pacioretty is. The real,
and I want to say on record right here, right now, that congratulations for signing a contract in Sweden. So Max Pacioretty's going to Sweden, guys, and yeah,
Thanks,
just
Mike.
so happy for you, man. I know it's been a rough last year and a half, well, for everyone, but especially like as a hockey player, like a non-NHL hockey player, right? It's like you're trying to find your way from Oklahoma and take that next step, and like trying to find a place to play. You don't know where you're going to play until finally something comes up and you're able to go to Sweden and compete overseas there in the pros. Like, it's just, I'm really happy for you, man, and congratulations.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I know we've known each other for a while, and yeah, man, that means a lot. I appreciate the support. I'm sure it'll be exciting. Again, it's been tough for a lot of people. Can't imagine, I'm old enough and mature to understand the whole COVID thing, kids, high school kids, kids trying to move on from that level, high school to college, or, Pee Wee to Bantam to AAA, that's a huge, it's a huge blow for kids at that age. Because I mean, at our age, we can kind of, comprehend what's going on and really see the whole situation for what it is, as opposed to a kid's just like, give me my skates and let me get out there. So again, thanks, Mike. Thanks, boys. I appreciate that. And hopefully can be on a couple more shows here, and I'll be overseas, and I'll love to still tune in from there too. That's for sure.
Yeah, either you'll stay up till 3 a.m, or I'll get up at 3 a.m. for you to join the show. But anyway, we'll be able
to say we knew you when before your career takes off in Sweden.
Fair enough. Appreciate that, boys.
Yeah, just going back to the Habs, of course. So sharing experiences. Before I get to mine, I want to share Randy's experience here, been a Habs fan since 9 years old, watching Ken Dryden back in the day dominate the NHL. And we'll get to a couple more of your comments there, Randy, and anyone else tuning in. We'll get to those later on in the show. But yeah, just to me, like, I have been you're getting some love also. Good luck in Europe right there. So yeah, thank you on behalf of Paolo there, Randy. But yeah, just I've been a Habs fan since like I was first started loving hockey at 6 years old, playing hockey because like I always just was a fan of the goalies, Jose Theodore back in the day, then Christo Baluret, then Carey Price. And like I said, 2007 felt like the year where there's actually where they should have gone to the Stanley Cup and probably won the Stanley Cup in 2007-08. But then just through my childhood, through my teenage years, through my adult years, I wasn't able to follow as much between, I'd say, like 2015, 16 until 2 years ago, until like 2018, 2019. So I just had to ease off a couple of years because I was focusing on my own personal life, I guess. But at the same time, throughout, like, it just to think that that's how much time has passed with the Canadians, like with me cheering for the Montreal Canadiens and having them not even never mind made it to the Stanley Cup Final, but winning more than 2 games in the conference final, and then eventually make it to the Stanley Cup Final, and then being able to order a Cole Caulfield jersey with a Stanley Cup Final patch on it. It is just truly, truly remarkable. And yeah, it's just so I did not have the words on my language at my post-game show on Thursday, and I'm still kind of at a loss for words, and I'm looking forward to this playoff series and just experiencing it with Habs fans all over Twitter, and hopefully in real life, if I don't have to sell a kidney and an arm and a leg and blow out my savings account to go to a Stanley Cup Final game. But anyway, moving on though, so that's our fan experience. I do want to talk about now the player experience. And obviously, it's easy to be happy for Carey Price. I think we could all agree that we're happiest for Carey Price of anyone else for this opportunity to win a Stanley Cup, to win a Stanley Cup. But besides Carey Price, who would you say you are most happy for?
Paolo, you first.
All right. I'm a little torn between, I guess it's kind of one's a player, one's not. I guess I got to give it to Bergevin. you know what? Like, he's taken so much heat in the last couple of years, and I know he was one loss away from people say losing his job. Well, you know what? They didn't lose. So, thanks to Price or whatever, I do believe Bergevin deserved the credit because he did took a lot of heat for some trades, some moves, whatever. Price's contract, for example, let's not forget that one. But besides him, I'm going to give him some credit for that. It's got to be Brendan Gallagher. The guy is a machine. The guy's face right now has scars left and right, and he's still smiling. He's still got the big smile on his face. Just the way he plays, the love for the game, the passion, the amount of times he gets bounced around, gets up, fights again, gets tossed again, challenge Chara, the things like that you look at him and it's just like I would give him the $10 million. He's worth every dollar we give him and more for his value, not only to the team on the ice, but its character, what it gives to the fans, the amount of people that love him for that. So again, I'm gonna stick with, obviously, Bergevin, give him the credit because I do believe he's taken a lot of heat for the bad that's gone wrong in the last, since he's been here. But I'm definitely gonna have to go with Gallagher. I believe the heart and soul of this squad for a long time.
So I've had Gallagher as well, for a few different reasons. Paolo, I mean, I include yours as well, of course. But Gallagher is the second longest serving Canadiens player after Carey Price since Marc Bergevin has taken over, and that was in grade 12. And I'm like, okay, the rookies, Galchenyuk, Gallagher, they look like the part of the future of the team. And I still recall Gallagher with that baby face at 20, 21 years old, I think, getting bounced around in the NHL, getting used to him. Like, okay, this guy is a little bit of a force of nature. He's not going to score 50 goals, but he's a new kind of player that we got to get used to here. He goes to the front of the net. Doesn't matter how small he is. He's a little bulldog. I think it was, I forget who said it. It might have been about Gallagher or Marchand. He's a little ball of hate or something. Gallagher keeps going, and he, even though he wasn't selected in the draft by Bergevin, it was Gauthier who got him. It was Gauthier. He served here the longest after Carey Price, so he's been here the longest. He has seen it all since Bergevin took over, basically, and I want to see a good for him. Now, there are two other guys who I'd be the happiest for, but they're not playing anymore. One is Saku Koivu. He was my favorite player when I first got into hockey, more than Carey Price. And actually, it was his T-shirt that I wore a lot in middle school until I got a little taller and it didn't fit me anymore. I still wish he was captain. Honestly, I miss the guy a lot. But also, the second guy is unfortunately passed away several years ago. Jean Beliveau. I would have loved for him to see the Stanley Cup run, and it would bring back memories of him of the 71 Cup run. They were not supposed to win that year either, but he's been around the team basically all of his adult life. Even after he retired from being a player, he was a team executive. He was always there. The players would come up to him, talk to him, class act all the way. And just a plain class act in every aspect of life. So for everybody living in and those who passed away who were part of the Canadiens organization.
And Émilie Beliveau was there in Game 4, I'd like to say. Yeah, so tradition has carried on. Jean Beliveau's the Beliveau presence has definitely carried on in the organization. Speaking of great captains, though, yeah, Koivu for sure. And I know you told me before, Paolo, but tell Randy, is that the Koivu jersey you're wearing right now, or?
Actually, no. I haven't grown much since being a little kid, but it's actually an Ilya Kovalchuk jersey. That's a big player. Growing up, I wanted him in every of my be a GM NHL modes. And
is he 17 or 71 on your back there?
I got 17 here.
Okay, good. 17. Yeah, and it worked out in 2019, 2020. It actually came to fruition for a little bit, which was really cool.
The day they acquired him, I was that was like my between 5 to 17-year-old childhood dream come true finally. Even if he was there for a short amount of time and he scored some great goals, a couple of snipes that completed for me. Like I could have died a happy man, as they say. But Yeah, Ilya Kovalchuk, the Sakko Koivu. Unfortunately, I believe it's upstairs, like in my room somewhere, and it's no bigger than my torso, I guess. So it's a little tight, but I might have to
A little
toss
crop
that
top
on
action there.
Yeah, there you go.
But okay, so just a couple of other comments here again from Randy and also Noah Siegel London. So Randy is most happy for Bergevin and Gallagher, whereas Noah Siegel London would love to see the 2003 draft crew of Stahl, Perry, and Weber win one together, and Team Canada crew at the 2010 Olympics. But I would honestly say it's Marc Bergevin. It's got to be Marc Bergevin to me, because he was the guy. Like you look at how, not only how he grew in terms of age, but also how he grew physiologically from being the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. From when he started off, he always had like that I guess that Bergevin smile or whatever, but he just had like his nice dark spiky hair with like a nice little almost glimmer in his eye that like still looked like, yeah, I'm like a former player, and like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this general manager thing. It's really awesome. And it worked out, and it was great in the first 2 years, because within 2 years of him being GM, the Canadiens made it to the conference final. But then, right? And then his hair got longer and grayer, and just the smiles became less and less. And he had to take so much responsibility, even though it's not all entirely on him. A lot of it is, but not entirely on him, for how the Habs were just really, really bad in 2015, 2016, and disappointing in 2016, 17, and really bad again in 2017, 18. But just Marc Bergevin has gone through hell and back in his tenure with the Montreal Canadiens and working for Jeff Molson. And I personally, if they were a goal away from us being completely on the other side of this and saying, yeah, fire Bergevin, fire blah, blah, blah. And in fact, Randy N here is saying, do you think it's cup for bust for Marc Bergevin? I think Bergevin is all right for a new contract for the Habs. And I think so too. Sure, there's bad contracts. Sure, are Carey Price and the Weber contract and all that and Josh Anderson, are those contracts going to look great in 4 years from now? I don't think so. But for the short term right now, and like Bergevin clearly knew that the team he put together in these last couple of years, and specifically this off season, is what essentially put the Canadiens from retooling to now. Even with a rough regular season, they showed that when all is said and done, and everything is, when the playing field is even, they are built to win in the Montreal. They're built to win in the playoffs. And Marc Bergevin believed that from the start, and he maintained that belief throughout the entire season. Even though he had to change the coach and the goalie coach, the assistant coach, even though he had to bring in a couple of veterans that didn't perform very well, Eric Stahl, John Merrill, and Eric Gustafsson until now. But he maintained that belief. And finally, as of Game 5 from the Toronto series, up until this point, and hopefully going forward into the Stanley Cup Final, the players have received that belief, and they are playing with it in every single game. So Marc Bergevin is the guy that, for everything that he's taken and for how well he handled it also. Because every time he speaks to the media, you want to talk about, you're going to talk about firing Marc Bergevin, who are you going to replace him with that can handle the pressure and the media and the expectations with the amount of grace that Marc Bergevin handles it with? Who are you going to replace that with? So to me, that's why I'm happiest for Marc Bergevin. And even if the Canadiens don't win the Stanley Cup against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the series, it just shows, it's like it puts Montreal on the map as a team that can make it this far in the playoffs and needs to be taken seriously. And that's great news when you're talking about culture going forward and belief in each other as players in the locker room, and also belief from outside. Like, you have free agents that say, where do I want to sign with this summer? Where do I want to win with? Right? They maybe will choose Montreal the same way Tyler Toffoli did, the same way, I mean, Joel Edmondson didn't really choose him, but yeah, the same way Tyler Toffoli did. And that is a great, like, one of the best free agent signings that have been done by the Montreal Canadiens probably in the last decade. So yeah, I'm just happiest for Marc Bergevin that has finally come to that all his hard work has 90% paid off for him to have gotten this far. And I have another question for you guys though. Who is again, obviously, I think we can all agree Carey Price would be the Conn Smythe winner through 3 rounds, right? I think we could all agree with that. But if it can't be Carey Price, who would your Conn Smythe Trophy winner be right here, right now?
Paolo, go first.
No, just say it. Don't defer.
Yeah, I'll
just
go
say
with,
it, guys. Come on.
I'm going to go with Point. Braden Point's been having quite a run. I mean, I know the whole like
on the Montreal Canadiens, Paulo.
Oh, I thought you meant
we all do. Yeah, Braden Point scores every
okay.
game. But will he against Philip Deneau? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But on the Montreal Canadiens, who is your Conn Smythe winner if it can't be Carey Price?
Ooh, no wonder Sheldon threw this my way first. If it can be Carey Price, I'm going to go with depending on, like, as of right now, we're not including the final, right? Not including that final series.
As of right now.
I'm going to go shot over Ken because I love the kid. I'm going to go with Caulfield just because he's having a hell of a run.
Love it.
Well, I wanted to answer Randy's question that, at this point, they made the final. Randy, it's not cover bust anymore, for better or worse. Bergevin gets another contract after this. Now, for my choice for playoff MVP, I'm going off the board here. They're back to 1979 with the same style of play and player usage. Philip Deneau. Off the board, right? Off the board, because there's a reason why Dominique Ducharme had always put Philip Deneau out as the centerman to start every game or every period, because he and his line mates have consistently set the tone from the start of the game and have shut down the opposition. Bob Gainey did the exact same thing. Now, he did score more goals than Philip Deneau in the 79 playoffs compared to now, of course. But Gainey had this reputation where he's a gamer, and even it was Tikhonov who said he's the most complete hockey player in the world. Scoring goals is an ability that, you can develop, but initially, do you have the talent or not? Playing defensively, that's something that any skater can do, and Philip Deneau has done it to a T, and he helps set the tone. Ducharme trusts him. Richardson trusts him as well, although he didn't start him all the time to start periods, but he's my pick anyway.
Yeah, Dominique Ducharme out with COVID. Expected to be back by game 3, though, but I absolutely love the way Luke Richardson has been coaching this team through the back half or most of the Vegas series there. Just love his composure. I love his presence and the way he communicates. If he communicates in the locker room the same way he does to the media, just phenomenal. And just very, not so much soft spoken, but just, doesn't take any BS type of guy that clearly the players love, and he loves his players. And it's like, seems like to be a mutual respect type of thing between the two. But honestly, you know what, Sheldon, I find myself having a really hard time arguing your point there. Cole Caulfield, it's an exciting, flashy pick, of course, and he had a tremendous series against the Vegas Golden Knights. A couple of comments here, by the way. Randy thanks Nick Suzuki. And what's it called? This Sheldon saying your pick of Deneau would earn Deneau a huge contract next year.
And a ton of pizza.
Indeed. Yeah. Pizza, man. But I would have to say Tyler Toffoli. I mean, it's kind of, actually Tyler Toffoli or Nick Suzuki. Kind of a toss up there. I'd have to go with Suzuki.
When you threw that question my way, and then I answered the point, and then my brain was kind of like jello, and I was like, I'm just going to throw Caulfield there because I love him.
Yeah. That's all good.
But I like that a lot.
I would say Suzuki because like he had that like perfect combination of point and offensive production with also defensive ability, because by no means is he like Philip Deneau, of course, right? Although he is, believe it or not, Suzuki's a -1 in the playoffs. The Habs, in terms of plus minus, like they only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus players. And guess who's leading them in plus minus? Eric Gustafsson is leading the Canadians in plus minus, which doesn't tell everything, but still, that's what's great about this team, though, is that there isn't like a one player outside of maybe Carey Price that's like a clear-cut decision to be like a Conn Smythe or MVP type player, because it's everyone buying into a system, everyone playing as well as they possibly could, and someone different every single game scoring the big goals that make a difference in each and every game. And that's what's so fun about this team this year in this playoff run is just, again, it's not all on one player out. I mean, again, besides Carey Price, yeah, it's everyone, and every single game it's someone different coming up big. But I honestly, though, Sheldon, I really, really respect that Philip Deneau pick. And also the penalty kill. The Habs killed 30 straight penalties in these playoffs. Also, like,
insane.
That's a record, and I think they now have the all-time greatest penalty kill percentage for a playoff run of all time. So, yeah, just that's what they've been able to accomplish, and also be the second longest streak without trailing in a playoff season between the end of round 1 and going into round 2 up until Shea Theodore, was it? Yeah, Shea Theodore, I think, opened the scoring in the Vegas series. Yeah, it was Shea Theodore. But yeah, like, it's just, I would say in terms of my Conn Smythe Trophy winner, Suzuki, Toffoli, but it could really be anyone. I'd have to say Suzuki outside of Carey Price. I do want to ask you also, who is the biggest unsung hero? You could say Philip Deneau again there, Sheldon, but real quick, who is your biggest unsung hero?
It's Deneau again. Same reasons as I gave before. Bring on the pizza endorsements.
I don't know if an unsung hero could also be the MVP, but we'll go with it. Sure.
That's awesome how he said, like, try not to go with it, whatever. You're just like, no, I'm going to let you know how it is. But yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to go with, I know earlier in the Toronto playoffs and the Toronto series, he looked a little off at certain times, but as the series has gone on, he's played some huge minutes. He's blocked a lot of shots. Very underrated. I guess everyone, kind of looks like at Weber, whatever, Ben Sherratt. Ben Sherratt
stole mine. You freaking stole mine, Paolo.
He's made some incredible plays, some blocks, physical play. Stands out. I think in the Toronto series, 1 or 2 goals, it was kind of like he got caught looking the opposite way type thing. But for every little thing that goes bad, he's blocking 3-4 shots, he's hitting, he's doing all this little things like that you can't teach. And I mean, I was gonna go with Deneau too. Like, that's a no-brainer also. But yeah, this is a perfect example, as you were saying earlier, Mike. Like, there's more than 1, more than 2, more than 3, 4 guys we can pick. Like, we can almost go through the whole roster. But yeah, that's definitely one guy that's definitely stood out.
And also, Randy here does say Corey Perry and Armia. I will say, though, they're kind of more sung because they've gotten on the score sheet. Yoel Armia, who we'll get to news from today in a little bit. And also Noah Sieg-London's question, I think, a little bit up there. But yeah, just to me, though, in terms of unsung hero, it's got to be Ben Sherratt because he hasn't scored. I don't think he even has any points in these playoffs. But for the minutes that he has eaten, and for the minutes against top players of the Toronto Maple Leafs and Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights, and the fact that Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler, Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, all combined for 3 goals these playoffs. 3 goals from all those guys I just named. A lot of that has to do with Philip Deneau. A lot of that has to do with even Matthews and Marner just crumbling under pressure and the moment being too big for them, sure. But also that has to do with Philip Deneau and Ben Sherratt's and Shea Weber's ability to just play huge minutes. Ben Sherratt is a second less. I was looking that up here just now. So Ben Sherratt is averaging 25 minutes, 37 seconds of ice time in these playoffs, 1 second behind Shea Weber's 25-38. So that's just how great that Ben Sherratt has been. And also give some love to Joel Edmondson as well, because he's another guy not really much talked about. And he has just been phenomenal in these playoffs as well, Jeff Petrie. So there's so many options here. But yeah, just like Randy's saying, Joel Edmondson had some huge blue line to blue line assists this postseason, like the one on Caulfield, right? And yeah, just that's like you could give either one of them, again, the unsung hero of these playoffs. But I do want to move on. So we've looked back quite a bit so far at this run thus far, but we still have an entire round of playoff hockey to get into here. So moving forward, the news of today is Yoel Armia is in COVID protocol today, or this morning. I woke up to that message from Skormal that Joel Armia was on COVID protocol and that he was not practicing with the team and he would not travel with the team to Tampa with game 1 tomorrow night. However, that does not necessarily mean that he will officially be out for game 1 or game 2. It doesn't mean that he's positive for COVID. It just means it could be close contact, could be an inconclusive test, could mean so many things. There are updates up and coming. There should be updates by tonight or tomorrow. What's it called? Oh, you know what? Before we do that, I do want to acknowledge Noah C. Glendon's comment here. What do you guys think of Jake Allen as a unsung hero?
For the entire season since January. Oh yeah, absolutely. Great point.
Yeah.
But just for the playoffs, not Jake Allen because he didn't play a minute. So
well, that's why he's saying out of the box unsung hero.
Okay, fair. It's Jake Allen.
But if you think of it, like if Jake Allen plays like Antiniemi or like freaking who's the guy before that? Keith Kincaid, and Mike Condon and or even Charlie Lindgren at his worst, like the Habs don't make the playoffs. Let's be real. So you can definitely give a lot of respect to Jake Allen and possibly give that award to that unofficial award to Jake Allen as well. But I do want to segue that into my next question, and going back to Armia though, with Noah C. Glendon's comment here from before. What are our thoughts on Armia not traveling to Tampa with the team? And can Jake Evans, who has supposedly fully recovered because he's no longer in no longer in a non-contact jersey, but can Jake Evans fulfill that Joel Armia role if need be with Corey Perry and Eric Stahl on that fourth line or fourth quote unquote line?
I think he fits in well. I know when they lost him, it was a tough loss. I know people were saying like, "Oh, he's a fourth line player. He doesn't do anything." He's like, I mean, obviously you don't watch the game if you don't know his how much he affects the game, whether it's on the PK, his forecheck, his sense of the game, his vision. He's a very smart kid. Actually, funny. Now that I've seen him play with the Habs for a while, I played against him in the OJ. Actually, he was 16 or 16. No, I'm talking about Evans. Yeah, I was a 19-year-old. He was 16 for St. Mike's, and even at that point, he was a great player. But now to watch him, transition to the NHL, losing him when he got hurt, was a tough blow. But again, like we've been saying, the Habs are rolling, and I feel like guys who are out wanting to get in, like a guy like Perry, you put him in the lineup, you're not taking him out. He just works so hard and does the little things to earn his spot. Armia, same thing. I think it's a tough blow if he can go and he can play. Do I think Evans has the same, size and stuff like Armia? No. But I do think he has the smarts, and he has, the way he plays the game, the way he forechecks the other team's D and gets the puck, pins them behind, works them down low the way he was, prior to the Scheifele incident. I think he fits in well, and I think that line, hopefully, they can, I'm sure with the veterans, 2 older guys taking another young guy in and say, all right, buddy, let's do this kind of thing. And I mean, hopefully Armia is good to go. That's obviously not something you want to hear, but I do think Evans will fit in great and bring what he always brings to the ice when he was in before that.
How annoying was he to play against back in the OJHL there?
He just works hard, man. He works hard. He works smart. As a centerman too. I was a centerman. He was good on draws. Always try, maybe you beat him once or twice, but he's going to beat you the next 2, 3. He's got a smart mind, and the way he moved the puck, the way he, again, one of my favorite things about him and about a lot of centermen is how good he was without the puck. You can be a great, goal scorer or whatever, but like a Phil Deno, I pride myself on defensive play first, and he does that to a T, as you can see, with our PK this year and while he was healthy and everything. So smart player, and you can't take that away from him.
Yeah. Evans is going to bring a different dimension to that fourth line. Something I noticed, well, it really shouldn't number the lines because Ducharme and Richardson don't, but the Armia, Stahl, and Perry line is actually relatively slow compared to the other lines, but they just hold on to the puck so well. Armia does that very well. Corey Perry is a much more experienced version of him, and Eric Stahl is lurking in the weeds, helping out every time. Evans plays much faster, and you can see it. So he's going to throw that line is going to have a lot more speed now. I'm not sure if Evans is as good as protecting the puck in just one place, being as static. He's not as big as Armia, but you know what? He doesn't have to play Armia's game. He should play his own game. So he's going to zip around being a little annoying, buzzing bee, and Stahl and Perry are going to hang out in the corners, just like Evans is going to dart in there, help out, and continue forechecking. And I'm not worried at all. It's good. It's good for Evans to get back in and play no matter what line he's on.
I would say, just with that's exactly what I was thinking earlier today when I saw that news there, Sheldon, is like also, like you said, Paolo, like Jake Evans with the smarts without the puck. And what are Corey Perry and Eric Stahl? Well, they're veteran and they're smart players. So maybe Jake Evans doesn't have that same bullish type of size that Yoel Armia has. Maybe might not be able to protect the puck as much in the corners. But you talk about Yoel Armia's. I think Jake Evans is probably better at forechecking than Yoel Armia, or more tenacious, more annoying, because he is just like you said, plays it faster, plays it more relentless. Whereas Yoel Armia is just more like just uses his size to win battles, which again is valuable. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of having to adjust now, the only concern I have. And this was brought forth by one of my followers on Twitter earlier today at Mike Langer, and I commented about it, is if Jake Evans' condition isn't what it was before the injury, that is my only concern. But in terms of Jake Evans' maybe, again, not the same size as Armia, but the speed, maybe not even the same skill as Yoel Armia, but the speed and the smarts and the aggressiveness or the aggression that Jake Evans plays with, he'll be just, assuming his conditioning is okay, he'll be just fine with Stahl and Corey Perry. So now, though, what I do want to do is another thing is I want to look at matchups now. Or actually, first, let's look at a couple of comments here. Or you know, one second. We'll go into the matchups because the comments are about the matchups here. So yeah, we'll talk about the matchups and then the comments. Just have to figure it out there on that split second of which way I want to go first. But okay. What I want to do quickly here is line by line and talk about either advantage Tampa, advantage Montreal, or push. All right. We're going to look at each line that will likely be matched up against whichever. All right. And real quick, want to talk either advantage Montreal, advantage Tampa, or push. All right. Starting with Danault, Lehkonen, Gallagher versus Andre Palat, Braden Point, and Nikita Kucherov. Is it going to be advantage Montreal, advantage Tampa, or push?
I'm going push.
Cool.
Yeah, push. Now I assume push just means doing whatever role. I'm not familiar with the term. I'm just going off of Paolo's.
Even.
Yeah,
okay, then push, because
it's okay. You're not a gambler. You're not a gambler. Right. That's
the Danault line is meant to shut down Tampa's top players. So yeah, push.
So you know what? I'm gonna sound crazy right now. If Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov add like maybe 1 or 2 goals to that 3-goal total I mentioned before of Matthews, Marner, Connor, Wheeler, Pacioretty, Stone, Stevenson, but who cares about Chandler Stevenson? Advantage Montreal. If Danault can shut down that line, then advantage Montreal.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, fair.
But if Braden Point keeps playing at a Conn Smythe Trophy MVP level, well then, yeah, huge advantage Tampa. But here's the thing, though. I think if the X factor is Kucherov, because Kucherov, I find, just creates so many plays for Braden Point.
Yeah.
Which Marner could not necessarily create in the playoffs for Matthews. He tried, but wasn't really good at it. But that's also where Lehkonen and Gallagher come in. So, yeah, I would honestly say if based on what we've seen in these playoffs before from these Montreal Canadiens, obviously, again, we've seen Braden Point scored a near goal per game pace in these playoffs. But based on what we've seen from Montreal, I'd say either advantage Montreal or push. So I'd agree with you guys. All right. And I'll get to Randy's comment the second there. And sorry, Randy, we're not going to talk too much about offseason here because free agents, again, we have a Stanley Cup Final series here, for God's sake. We're not talking about any offseason future stuff just yet. But so that's the first line. Second line now. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Tyler Toffoli. versus Anthony Cirelli, Alex Killorn, and Steven Stamkos. Advantage Tampa, advantage Montreal, or push?
Advantage Montreal.
Yeah?
I'm going to go slight advantage Tampa. This is going to be similar to that Nylander line against the Canadiens in the first round, where the one Leaf that scores a ton of goals is going to be William Nylander. But I'm not so concerned about Stamkos anymore compared to Kucherov and Point, especially Kucherov. He's got the shot where it's just casual shot and it goes in. It's a scary shot that you don't expect. Stamkos, Price is used to it. It's coming in hard, coming in hot.
So I'm going to say push because of what our Shazam, if I'm saying that correctly, is saying. Cole Caulfield. So while Stamkos can play the Nylander role in that matchup that we saw in the first series, Caulfield can also complement Tyler Toffoli and Nick Suzuki in that matchup as well. So I'm honestly saying, it so much depends on that first line matchup though. But if it comes down to Suzuki, or if Cole Caulfield can score 4 more goals in this series like he did in the Vegas series, then I would say easily push, because I think Stamkos, like you said, is going to play a Nylander role. So it depends on Cole Caulfield. Now, what about the third line here? We have Kotkaniemi, Anderson, and Byron versus Barclay Goodrow, Yanni Gourde, and Blake Coleman.
I'm gonna go. That's a tough one because they each bring something different. I think that one's a push. Honestly, I think that Tampa has that's a good line there too. Montreal, Kotkaniemi's been playing some great hockey. You got Anderson and who's the third one on that line?
Paul Byron.
And a lot of speed. So you got size, speed, and you got Kotkaniemi down the middle. On the other side too, they got a good line. I'm gonna just kind of short, sweet, and I think that's a push. If they're both guys are playing at their top level basically.
Yeah, I'm going push as well. I actually would have thought that that Goudreau and Coleman line would end up matching up against the Perry, Stahl, and Evans line as well, but we're going to see that matchup at some point in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, and this is where I want to bring in Randy's comment. Again, I had my eye on this comment for a while now. If Danault's line is a top defensive line while KK's line is a second, I don't know if the Stahl line can skate with the Kucherov line. So yeah, so if Tampa, that's a mismatch that they should look to take advantage of, because if Kucherov, don't get me wrong, if Braden Point and Kucherov can be matched up, if John Cooper can get them on the ice against anyone else other than the Danault line, then yeah, the Habs are screwed. Let's be real. Let's be honest with that, right? But yeah, honestly, Kotkaniemi though, his play defensively has been also phenomenal. He was involved in the Nicolas Roy goal, but that was kind of started by Ben Sherratt. I know we praised him later, but with the minutes that Ben Sherratt is playing, he'll make some of those mistakes sometimes, but for the most part, he has shut it down completely. So, and that's kind of where I can start. I don't want to get into this tangent, but that's where you could talk the advanced stats versus reality and eye test thing, right? Which again, not going to really get into now, especially in the playoffs. To me, it's the eye test prevails 1,000,000% over advanced stats. But again, don't want to get too much into that for now. So yeah, in terms of this though, I would say push with you guys, because if just the same way Yanni Gourde scored the game winner in Game 7 for Tampa shorthanded, Kotkaniemi has his fair share of big goals as well. And so does Josh Anderson, and Paul Byron is very, very capable defensively. And those two guys, but those three guys, honestly, Paul Byron has somehow 6-7 hits a game. Kotkaniemi and Josh Anderson, we know what they're capable of physically. So it's just, honestly, I would say push, maybe even a slight advantage for Montreal. But yeah, but then again, Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, and John, and sorry, I was going to say Johnny Gaudreau, nice. Barclay Goodrow, right? They're capable of coming up big for Tampa as well. So I would say push with that as well. And last but not least, though, the fourth lines, I think this will be a pretty easy discussion. Colton, Tyler Johnson, Patrick Maroon. What a Maroon. Although he could win his third straight Stanley Cup matched up. But if you match them up against Stahl, Armia, and Perry and Jake Evans or Armia, I think it's a pretty solid advantage Montreal on that one. We think we could all agree, right?
Absolutely.
I think Perry won some revenge on Maroon for taking that cup last year too, so I don't think he's forgot that.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
even though Perry said, no, I'm not looking for revenge at all.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait until some scrum happens in the series to think maybe Perry just wanted to say the polite thing to the press.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, we saw, I think was it Marchessault who Perry just like took his stick out of his hands last game?
Yeah, it was.
Perfectly got away with that. I mean, yeah, it should have been a holding a stick penalty, but he did it like while the refs weren't looking, which again is fair because like, look, the reffing, besides the Chris Lee, like that was just a gong show, we all know, with Chris Lee and those games 3 and 4. But even then, it pretty much evened itself out, and justice was served because the Habs scored in the game where the officiating slightly favored Vegas. But again, who really cares? Like, just officiating should not be relevant. And honestly, though, the Habs play the way they should. They should not make Tyler Johnson, Ross Colton, and Patrick Maroon relevant the same way they didn't make Ryan Reeves and the Vegas fourth line relevant in that series. So
very good point. Very good point.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's the huge advantage Montreal was, where they could roll their 4 lines, whereas other teams can't really roll their 4 lines as confidently as Montreal can, especially with the lead, though. But it's a bit of a different story with the Habs defensemen versus the Lightning defensemen. So who do you guys take? The top 4 of Edmondson, Petrie, Sherratt, Weber, and of course Merrill Gustafsson, maybe Romanov, maybe Kulak, or what Tampa has in Sergachev, with Hedman, Jan Ruda, McDonough, Cernak, David Savard, and Sergachev. Who do you take, and who has the advantage on the blue line?
I will give the advantage to Tampa, to say that, that Victor Hedman, respect Hedman and, McDonough and all that. But when I look at the way the Habs have been playing, like the Habs D have been playing, I'm not going to say value-wise, but yeah, what they've been doing, boxing out, clearing lanes, getting guys out in front of the net. They're not exactly, Vegas had a bunch of D-men scoring half their goal, like all their goals pretty much. They were Theodore, Martinez, these guys were playing good hockey and scoring goals. Pietrangelo, there you go, main guy. They were a big part of their offense. In Montreal's case, like Weber got a big goal the other game. That's huge. They're not as offensively implicated and as big as in the play, but what they're doing defensively is almost as valuable as what Hedman and Sergachev and McDonough are doing offensively. So I think I will give it to Tampa the little bit of an advantage, because based on, on who they are, and Hedman and what they have there. But when I get technical and start looking at, how Montreal's defensemen are playing defensively, I think it's a close call, but I'll give it to Tampa this one. We'll get back to it in about a week and a half.
So I have not watched Tampa's defensemen specifically, but I saw the third pairing and I figured they're doing so well. They won the cup last year. Does that third pairing play together in any of the games? Because it's going to affect my answer.
So here's the thing. I was looking that up right now, actually. And also, you could throw in Luke Schenn to that mix as well here. In terms of ice time, average ice time for Tampa defensemen, obviously Victor Hedman leads the way, 24. McDonough and Sergachev are 22 per game. Cernak is at 19 per game. David Savard's at 14.51 per game. Jan Ruda's at 13.51 per game. And Luke Schenn's at 9.14 per game. So long story short, the top 4 on Tampa of Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, and Cernak, they play at least 19 minutes, and the bottom 3 play 14, 13, and 9. Whereas now, if you pull up the Montreal Canadiens, and this is going to factor into my point, which I'll get to in a bit, you have Weber, Sherratt, 25.5, Petrie, Edmondson, 24 and 23 respectively, and then Brett Kulak, 13, Merrill, 13, Romanov, 12, Gustafsson, 9. So I'll throw in my answer if you don't mind, Sheldon. I would say big advantage Tampa, because Montreal, they shelter the minutes of their top 4 guys, or of their bottom 2 guys, with Weber, Petrie, Edmondson, Sherratt, right? And also, interestingly enough, though, I would say advantage Tampa in terms of their personnel, But here's another interesting point that Randy's bringing up here. Offensive defenseman Tampa, defensive defenseman Montreal. So you also have to talk about who plays what type of game or who's capable of playing what type of game. But I'd say overall, though, you still have to give the advantage to Tampa.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Because if John Cooper has confidence in his third pairing to play together at even strength, well, Ducharme and Richardson haven't shown that. It's either Merrill or Gustafsson playing with one of the top 4 guys. I give it to Tampa as well, but Randy brought up a wonderful point that this is what the Canadiens' defense was built for. Mostly just shut everything down and keep everything to the outside. You don't get in front of Carey Price, or if one player does, nobody else is going to join him.
Now, the last but not least, the 2 best goaltenders in the world, Carey Price versus Andrei Vasilevsky. Who has the edge in net?
Is that a rhetorical question? Gotta go, my boy. Price is right always.
So stats-wise, Vasilevsky's actually slightly better in these playoffs. Fair. If there's any goalie in the NHL that can match Price save per save when they're at the top of their games, it's Vasilevsky, and he pulls off many more athletic saves because you see him like a spider with his legs stretched way wide. And I'm sure that we'll get into some of the Canadian shooters' heads at times in this series, but the book's already out on Vasilevsky. I think it made its ways in the press that just shoot high. I think you'll score more goals. Yeah, Vasilevsky has the cup ring, and he absolutely deserved it. But this is Carey Price's time. He's going to elevate his game to one more level. If he gives up another goal like he did to Martinez or like Nab in that series, he has faith in the group that kind of goal will be made up for later on in a game. And Carey Price is shutting the door. I will give the advantage ever so slightly, like that one extra save to Price because of the intangibles.
I would say Carey Price has so Vasilevsky, much more athletic goalie than Carey Price. The same way Fleury's a much more athletic goalie than Carey Price. But in terms of actually stopping the puck, Carey Price has just made these heroic saves left and right that has led the Canadiens to where they are now. Whereas Vasilevsky plays behind a pretty stacked Tampa team that may or may not be $18 million over the salary cap, technically. Not using that as an excuse, but just whatever. Just take it for what it is. So as great statistically and from a performance standpoint as Vasilevsky was, I almost kind of see it like comparing Jack Campbell versus Carey Price, or Connor Hellebuck versus Carey Price, or Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner against Carey Price. So stats in the playoffs, like in this situation, I find it doesn't really tell the full story. It tells a lot, but not the full story. So, and yeah, Vasilevsky has way more shutouts than Carey Price in these playoffs. Knock on wood, so I don't jinx that. But yeah, like that's just Carey Price has had to make some hugely heroic saves, and yeah, so I give the slight advantage to Carey Price in this one from a pure just head-to-head goaltending standpoint. There is another matchup. We have a couple minutes here. We're going to start winding down really quickly soon. But first of all, there is another question I want to bring to the attention from the audience here. Again, how about the matchup of Tampa's power play or Montreal's PK, and then Montreal's power play versus Tampa's PK? We'll throw that in as well. Who has the advantage in special teams, Montreal or Tampa?
That's a very good point. I was thinking about that while we were talking at a certain point, and it kind of just went off. But Randy, great point. I do think it's going to be a big difference in the series. If Tampa gets 1, 2, 3 power plays, could be 2, 3 goals, or it could be 0 and a huge momentum swing Montreal's way. So I think it's gonna play a huge part. Again, a big part of they have a great, probably the best power play, and we have the best PK with the best penalty killer between the pipes. So I think the biggest part of through this series will be Montreal minimizing their penalties. Unless it's like, guys on a breakaway or whatever, you got to take it because you trust in your PK and you trust in Price, which is also a huge mind game, I guess, as a player, when you can not afford to, but if a penalty happens, you don't have to be so hard on yourself because you know that you can trust in your guys, your PK, and your goalie, of course, and your coach, and so forth. So I do think it plays a huge role, and I do think Montreal's PK finds a way to keep this rolling. Maybe not, on no goals against like they're doing, but I do think that Montreal's PK is on a roll and keeps Tampa's PP to a minimal while letting Carey Price sing the puck the whole way.
Yeah, I think it was Richardson who said this. Can't take bad penalties against this power play. The Canadians have not run into a power play in these playoffs, much like Tampa's. They haven't run into a penalty kill like the Canadians either. And the Canadians are going to provide them the biggest matchup. But if Tampa gets a power play goal, this goes back to, Kucherov and how dangerous an offensive player he is. It's going to go through him. And if there is a team that can counter Montreal's penalty kill, it will be Tampa. A lot of people thought it could be the Leafs, except their power play actually, statistically speaking, was pretty bad heading into the playoffs. Tampa's power play has not been like that. They actually showed up. Basically, bottom line, just like Richardson said, stay out of the box.
So let me bring this up to you right now. In terms of penalty kill, the Habs, we all know, has a historically as the best penalty kill in a playoff season of all time at 93.5%. Tampa's penalty kill, a full 10.5% points less than that at 83. On the power play, however, Tampa, we all know, is at 37.7%, second best behind Colorado, although Colorado is eliminated in the second round, whereas the Habs are still not bad at 20.9%, which is still pretty decent from a power play perspective, like overall. 37% is ridiculous. Like if we're prorating it to the regular season, right? So the way I would say, look, it all obviously, like you guys said, comes down to that Tampa power play versus the Habs PK. If the Habs PK can keep it going, then that means all the Habs have to do is score a couple of power play goals and they win the special teams battle. But if Kucherov, Point, Hedman, Stamkos, if those guys get cooking on the power play, then it will again favor Tampa for sure, because I don't think the Habs power play could score on pace with Tampa. And if Tampa is going to own more possession in this series, and if the refs are going to call more penalties for Tampa, the Habs won't have as many opportunities on the power play. So yeah, that would be very dangerous for the Tampa Bay Lightning and disadvantageous to the Montreal Canadiens. I know, again, we want to wind down here for just a couple more things I want to get into here. Real quick, guys, just tell me one quick thing. What should the Montreal Canadiens be most worried about from the Tampa standpoint?
Sheldon, no. Last time I went first,
I'll just say straight up, their power play, Tampa Bay's power play. That's what the Habs should be worried about. Braden Point and Tampa Bay's power play.
Yeah. I was going to say their offense or power play, same thing.
Yeah, it's Kucherov and Point specifically on the power play, because Hedman, Stamkos can take care of them. Even though Hedman had a crazy number of goals last year, a couple on the power play, but it's Kucherov and Point. Even if Point scores the goals, it's going to run through Kucherov easily, and he's so sneaky with his shot.
Yeah, and and also just you don't know if he's shooting, you don't know if he's passing. He's just so deceptive with the puck on his stick. So that's what makes Kucherov as good as he is. But he is banged up, keep in mind, and I don't know if that will really affect him. It affected him in the sense that he didn't score in Game 7 against the Islanders, but I don't know how much more it's going to affect him in this series. But yeah, just their offense and just that will be really tough to handle. Although then again, if the Habs shut that down, the way that Tampa blocked 21 shots in Game 7 does concern me as well, because that could frustrate the Habs as well. But in terms of what Tampa should be most worried about, what could frustrate them is, once again, this fine gentleman right over. Oh, where am I? No, this way. Yeah, Carey Price. Going away from the banner and try to do. There you go. Like Sheldon's showing us over there. Because also, here's another thing. I want to do my research on this, and I'm going to tweet this out hopefully a little bit later this evening. The fact that you saw Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler, Pacioretty, Mark Stone, like I mentioned before, missing the net a lot later in the series. Why? Because Carey Price started getting their heads a little bit and made them kind of try to snipe their shots a little bit more perfectly, like Pacioretty had to do in Game 6, or like Paolo had to do in Game 6. Yeah. So to me, if Tampa should be worried most about Carey Price and the fact the Habs can roll 4 lines and be opportunistic offensively, but more so Carey Price. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think Montreal's definitely got to worry about their Tampa's power play, but Tampa's got to worry about their defensive play, their ability to box out. Braden Point's not the biggest guy. Kucherov is a little frail, I guess, at this point too. Guys gonna be going to the net. And they got some big guys, Killorn and stuff. But when you're coming in, you got Weber cross-checking you and Sherratt cross-checking you and Edmondson and over and over getting cross-checked. And as we know, Kucherov's a little banged up now, and I'm sure everybody's banged up on both teams. Guys are just battling and just battling through the series just to, you're in the Stanley Cup Finals. But I think Montreal's, Carey Price, their defensive ability, the way to box out, get in lanes too, and not give any prime, scoring opportunities. If it's shots from the boards or, high blue line, Price can take care of that as long as they're doing their part. So if Tampa starts being able to get in tight, it'll be a little different story. But as long as Montreal's able to keep them out there, I think Tampa might struggle that a little bit.
And last but not least, because we got to wrap it up here, predictions.
Oh, baby.
It's a big one.
You go first.
6 has been the magic number. I don't know if I said on the last time I was here that I picked the Canadiens in 6 over Vegas, but that was my prediction. I maintained it the whole time. It just wasn't on camera on this show. But I was correct. I'm going with Canadiens in 6 again.
Yeah, I'm going to go with what I was going to say also. Sheldon, spot on. Habs in 6. We win it on home ice. It's 2021, not 1993, but feels exactly like it. And that's where I'll leave it at that.
Predictions are such a wash at this point. I mean, look, we're not, let's be real. We're just, we're not, we know our stuff. We've all played and watched 10s, 20,000 hours of hockey. So we know what we're talking about, but we also want to see the Canadiens win. And we're just making our predictions based on superstition now than actual analysis and whatnot. So I said Leafs in 7. I said Jets in 7. I said Golden Knights in 7. So I'm going to say Tampa Bay Lightning in 7, not because I want to be right, but because I want the Canadiens to keep proving everyone wrong. All the experts that you see on Twitter with people posting the screenshots of the experts post saying, oh, Leafs in 5, Leafs in 4, Leafs in 7, Jets in 5, Jets in 4, Jets in 7, Golden Knights in 4, Golden Knights in 6, Golden Knights in 7, or whatever. Yeah. So same thing here. Tampa, they're going to say Tampa in 4, Tampa in 5, Tampa in 6, Tampa in 7, and we're just going to be able to cross them out with each game that the Habs win as they become more and more wrong. So I don't mind. I want to see my name up there crossed out one day as well. If that makes the Canadiens, like Denise Pink is saying, let's go les boys, right? I want to see the Canadiens just prove us wrong again. Keep proving us wrong and go win number 25 and go win the Stanley Cup for the first time in 1993 and prove us all wrong.
Does Craig Button get to eat any more crow after this?
Honestly, who cares? Who cares? Just I care about the Canadiens winning than I do about proving people wrong. But proving people wrong is, I guess, the essence, or the Habs winning is the essence of proving people wrong. So whichever way you want to go. But yeah, bottom line is I care more about the Canadiens winning than I do about, talking crap and just making people eat crow, and that's it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your comments. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to get to all of them towards the end there because, we have to wrap it up. But as usual, if you enjoy our commentary, give us a big thumbs up here on Langer at the Mic. Give us a subscribe here on youtube.com/Langer at the Mic. Give Paolo a follow on Twitter. What is it again? What's your handle again, Paolo, on Twitter?
I think it's P De Sousa 8.
Yeah, at P De Sousa 8. Check him out on Twitter. I'll include that in the description below. And yours truly, Mike Langer. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Mike Langer for all three. And this has been a Stanley Cup Final preview. Took us a little bit of a while to get going because I've been out in the heat all day with golf and with with a 2-hour workout. But yes, let's just end with a nice little, showing our CH to the screen here.
Rock the sweater, baby.
Rock the sweater, rock the t-shirt. Just rock whatever you're rocking, whatever Habs stuff you're rocking. Go Habs, go. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the Stanley Cup Final, everyone. And stay tuned for my post-game shows, of course. And yeah, let's get 25, baby. And go Habs, go.